That'll wake you up in the morning. Hi, everybody. Good morning. I'm Thomas Roberts. It is Tuesday, November the 4th, where there is no shaking us off today. Welcome to this special Election Day edition of Way Too Early. And let's get right to it, because the White House is bullish on the midterms, predicting that the party will hold the Senate, even if others say otherwise. We've got three major models giving Republicans high odds of taking the Senate. The Washington Post Election Lab, 96%. Mitt Romney spent the final days before voting campaigning with Dan Sullivan in Alaska. Sullivan is in a statistical tie with Senator Mark Begich, according to a PPP poll, as is New Hampshire Senator Jeanne Shaheen with her opponent Scott Brown. And another race appears to be tightening as well all across the country. And since its last poll less than a week ago, we have Quinnipiac saying that Colorado Democrat Mark Udall is closing that gap with the challenger Cory Gardner. And in Iowa, Democrat Bruce Braley has apparently pulled into a dead heat with Republican Joni Ernst. A win for Ernst could help hand the Senate over to Mitch McConnell as majority leader, but last night she was mum over whether he'd have her support.
Support McConnell for leader?
I'm not there yet. I have to win an election.
So we go to Georgia. David Perdue and Michelle Nunn could be headed to a 9-week runoff if neither can achieve the 50% of the vote needed to secure the seat. Republicans weeded out the field of Tea Party candidates, but even in-state Republicans acknowledge Nunn's pressure on Perdue's record on outsourcing as a business executive have kept this race very close.
Can we just ask you a couple questions before you go? Can I ask you about this issue of outsourcing? Yesterday you said you didn't outsource any jobs. Today you seem to suggest that you did. Which is it? Have you ever outsourced any jobs?
No, I never said that today. What this is another distraction.
Have you ever outsourced
to the people of Georgia away from the real critical issue, and that is that the failed policies of this administration are not producing jobs here at home. And that's why I got in this race. People of Georgia want this change. Obamacare, amnesty. I mean, all these things are affecting jobs here in Georgia, and I've answered that question.
So what about interest in the races after an expensive and toxic season? The Associated Press found that 16.4 million votes have already been cast in 31 states. That easily surpasses 2010 midterms in many of them. Now in Iowa, there are more registered Republicans voting early than there are Democrats. And in Colorado, where they have a new mail-in ballot system, more Republicans are returning their ballots by mail than Democrats. And in North Carolina, despite fewer days, early voting is up 20% from the last midterm in 2010. Registered Democrats have outvoted Republicans by almost 16%, and participation among African Americans and women is up as well. But Republicans faced a similar deficit there in 2012 after early voting, and Romney went on to secure the state. And this morning, we've learned that already in Alaska, early voting has topped 2012, a presidential election year, and is reportedly the second highest on record for them. Meanwhile, new Gallup polling is showing just how unpopular President Obama is in key battleground states. The president has an approval rating of just 41% across the country. And in Georgia, Iowa, Kansas, and Arkansas, it's that low or worse. Now, yesterday, House Democratic leader Jim Clyburn took his own party to task for failing to convince voters of the president's policies.
They have successfully made this campaign a referendum on President Obama, which I do not believe would be all that important if we as Democrats had done a better job on messaging exactly what the president has done.
So Clyburn added the Democrats didn't frame Obamacare well to their constituents, and just like Senator Mary Landrieu did, he went a step further in describing the factors at play in southern states.
For anybody to say that there's nothing that's racial about some of the animus that's being expressed by Barack Obama, you're just not telling the truth. The fact of the matter is, we know that with a lot of people, I don't care what he does, he is not going to be acceptable because of his skin color. Now, having said that, I do believe that those of us who are sophisticated in this process have got to do a better job of nuancing these things in a way that we can benefit from them. We have got to stick with that agenda and work through it, and don't be ashamed or afraid of it.
All right, so another veteran Democrat is now apologizing over comments that he made on the campaign trail. Senator Tom Harkin, he's retiring, and recently there is a video that surfaced of him slamming Joni Ernst, the Republican candidate trying to take his old seat.
In this Senate race, I've been watching some of these ads, and there's sort of this sense that, well, you know, I heard someone say, well, Joni Ernst, she's really attractive, and she sounds nice. Well, I got to thinking about that. I don't care if she's as good looking as Taylor Swift or as nice as Mr. Rogers, but if she votes like Michelle Bachmann, she's wrong for the state of Iowa.
So in a statement to BuzzFeed, Harkin said in part, quote, "I shouldn't have said those things. I know that. I regret any time someone feels offended by what I have said. But I'm only human, and I can make mistakes sometimes in how I say something. In fact, I have complimented her on running a very good campaign." All right, another news for you today. 4 Arab nations may soon team up to battle Islamic extremists in the Middle East. Egyptian officials tell the AP that Egypt is holding talks with Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Kuwait about a pact. And it would not be linked to the U.S.-led coalition that is taking on ISIS. Meanwhile, officials say the U.S. is considering new strikes on another militant group in Syria. The Nusra Front is connected to al-Qaeda and considered a rival to the Islamic State. And this comes as the U.S. is downplaying gains made by the group in Syria. The Nusra Front defeated U.S.-backed rebels, many of whom defected, yet officials say it is only a temporary setback. And France is now warning the U.S.-led coalition must help rebels have Syria's second-largest city from both militants and forces loyal to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Federal safety officials are getting ready to enter the next phase in their investigation of that deadly Virgin Galactic crash. As the NTSB is wrapping up its on-site investigation in California, officials say that debris from the spaceship was found up to 35 miles away. So the agency's acting chairman says the parts may have been blown by the wind, obviously making the debris field much larger. Officials are moving debris into hangars as they investigate the crash that left one pilot dead and another seriously hurt. The NTSB says cockpit video shows that the co-pilot, Michael Alsbury, deployed the brakes too soon. Virgin Galactic founder Richard Branson is vowing that this tragedy will not deter his team.
They're going to move forward and create a spaceship company that will be, hopefully one day, the marvel of the world. Yes, it's been a horrible setback, particularly obviously for Mike Alsbury's family and for Mike himself. But you know, we owe it to him to continue, and that we will do.
So far, more than 700 passengers have paid as much as $250,000 each for a ride into space once Virgin Galactic is up and running properly. Police have released chilling new surveillance video of a woman being abducted off of a Philadelphia street, and it happened just before 10 Sunday night. And the video, as you see here, is showing this woman who's been identified as 22-year-old Carlisha Freeland Gaither struggling to fight off her attacker before being thrown into the back of a 2004 Taurus. So after the car pulls off, police say she managed to break both rear windows but was unable to escape. Police are classifying this abduction as random, but family members believe the woman, who worked as a nursing aide, may have known the attacker. There's now a $10,000 reward being offered to capture the suspect and bring a conviction. A memorial in Russia, dedicated to former Apple CEO Steve Jobs, has now been dismantled in response to current CEO Tim Cook's announcement that he's gay. So the monument, more than 6 feet tall and in the shape of an iPhone, was erected outside of a St. Petersburg college in 2013 by a group of Russian companies known as ZEFS. So in a statement on Monday, the group cited a Russian law combating, quote, gay propaganda as the reason for removing it. Last year, Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a law prohibiting the spread of gay propaganda among minors. Although, oddly enough, in celebration of Vladimir Putin's birthday earlier this year, just last month in Russia, you could get a Putin iPhone cover. Put that right on your iPhone.